I am in Moab, Utah. I am boondocking. I've been in Salt Lake City for a really long time, since convention. I At convention I hurt a rib, and so I've been having some chiropractic treatment. And some friends of mine were playing last night in Moab, and so I just on the spur of the moment decided to jet off to Moab for the weekend. Unfortunately, they all left this morning, so I'm just on my own. It's a very rainy day here in Moab, and my friend Amber with Story Chasing had mentioned making a whole meal in the Instant Pot that isn't a soup or a stew, and so I decided that I was going to try it. While in Salt Lake City, I had a quinoa bowl at the Redmond farm store. It was so good, although a little overcooked. And so I'm gonna try to make it all in the Instant Pot all together. So I'm gonna show you how to do this. Now, this is a total experiment. I don't actually know how to do this. So we'll see how it goes. So the key to this whole thing is this little stacking pot-in-pot thing. So it's just a stainless steel 2-chamber pot with a lid and a rack. Mine isn't, I like Amber's a little better than mine because hers has an easier handle to remove the whole thing, but it's what I have. So I'm going to show you the ingredients and the things that you need. So obviously you need the little pot-in-pot to the 2 stacking thing. You're going to need a very fine mesh strainer, a measuring cup. I just use a canning jar for that because it also doubles as many things, including food storage and glasses. And then, of course, the Instant Pot, the 3-quart Instant Pot. And links to as many of those things as I possibly can down in the show notes. And for the ingredients, I've got a garnet, yam, sweet potato, whatever you want to call it, technically a sweet potato. I've got a couple of little beets. I've got some garden carrot. I've got orange cauliflower, some kale leaves. I have some chopped up onion, some dulse, some quinoa, olive oil, coconut aminos. And then I've got salt and pepper. I'm actually going to use this salt just in honor of the Redmond farm store. This is their salt, the real salt from Utah. And then I've got the thyme and basil, I think. That sounds good to me. I'm going to do a 1/2 cup of the quinoa. And you want to rinse the quinoa because otherwise... that didn't work. It'll be a little bitter. I would totally do that differently next time. The quinoa that I usually have is a lot bigger than the quinoa that I have today, and so a lot of it came through the colander. I'm doing a 1/2 cup of quinoa. It's 1 cup to 1.5 cups, so it's going to be a 1/2 cup to 3/4 cups of water, and I'm going to use the filtered water to cook it in. I'm just gonna pour the water into the rinsed quinoa and just kind of swirl it around to make sure that all of the quinoa is in the water. I'm gonna set that aside because I think that's gonna be the top. Again, I haven't done this before, but I think that's gonna be the top, and I'm gonna put the vegetables in the bottom. I was supposed to oil that pan. Oh well. I am gonna put a little oil in this one. I don't know. Again, I don't measure anything, so good luck. So I'm just gonna chop up all these vegetables just however you want. I'm going to just put some onion in there, just a little bit. I'm putting all the hard vegetables, so the carrots, beets, and yam in the bottom. Add just kind of a little sprinkle of thyme and basil on top of that. Again, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Basil, pepper, and I'm going to use the fine Redmond real salt. Just sprinkle that on the whole thing. Some coconut aminos on everything. Now I'm going to put the stuff that doesn't take so long to cook. Boy, I hope I have room for the kale. Definitely want some greens in this. I think that's, oh, I forgot the dulse. I'll put that on top. Hands are a little wet. This will be interesting. Okay, so we have the rack. I'm gonna put the one here. That's gonna be the bottom. I'm gonna put the one with the quinoa on top of that. Okay. That almost closes. Okay, I have about a cup of water in this. So I'm gonna put this in. I'm going to put the knob to seal, so it's gonna be facing the back. That down. I'm going to plug it in. I think my inverter's already on, yes. Now I'm going to hit pressure cook for, I'm gonna do it for 2 minutes because I have the potatoes and things in there. That's it. So that's gonna come up to pressure, and that's the only time it actually takes any energy is when it's coming up to pressure. And then it will be at high pressure for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna let it naturally release, and we'll see how it turns out. One thing I've decided to do with this for the cleanup is to let the colander dry before I try and get all of the quinoa out, because once it dries, it'll just tap right out, and then I won't have all the little quinoa in my gray tank. And I'm noticing actually that it's coming up to pressure a lot quicker than my soups and stews usually do, so that's interesting. Although it is much more full because because it's taking up all of the space. You know, when you're doing regular pressure cooking, you can only fill it to that 3/4 mark. So so that's kind of interesting to me. I wanted to say a couple of things about my rib, because I know some of you are going to be like, oh no. So when I was at convention, I was sitting next to an empty seat, and it was in one of those places where they have those temporary seats that are all connected together, and the seats fold flat up against the back of the seat. And I leaned over to say something to my friend, and I put all of my weight, all of my upper body weight on the back of the seat, and it flipped up, and I ended up having all of my upper body weight ram into the upright part of the seat as it came up. I've been getting some chiropractic care in Salt Lake City, and I've got a couple more weeks of that. And so I've been feeling a little stuck. I haven't really, I don't know, I've been doing a lot of street camping in Salt Lake City, which is not my favorite. I don't really like to do that. Although I'm finding that I'm much more comfortable street camping in neighborhoods where I would consider buying a house. So what I've been looking for is the kind of neighborhood that I would actually live in. And that has made it much more comfortable for me. But still not my favorite thing to do. So that's what I've been up to. And so I just decided to zip down to Moab for the weekend, thinking that I would be hanging out with some people, but very spur of the moment, and I didn't ask enough questions, and it turned out that they were all leaving this morning. So I'm here, and I'm at Klondike Bluffs, which is great. I have good internet, it's pretty, it's quiet, and it does overlook the airport, which can be really cool because sometimes you see, like I was walking over to my van this morning, and there were a bunch of parachutes right behind my van, so that was cool. Sometimes you see hot air balloons, sometimes you see paragliders. I mean, you just see all kinds of really cool things near this airport. Wow. It is finished already, so now I'm just gonna hit cancel and let the pressure release naturally. And I always unplug it right away because I don't need that phantom draw. And then I can also go ahead and turn off my inverter. I am ready to see what this concoction turned into. I am thinking, as it was cooking, I was thinking that I might take the veggie part and get out my cast iron skillet and kind of caramelize it a little bit to give it a little more flavor rather than steamed. But I haven't opened it yet, so let's check and see how it turned out. The lid just sits in the handle. Let's see what it is. That looks good, although I realized that I forgot to add salt to that. So I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna check this out and see. Oh my gosh, you know. Oh, it got really soupy in there. That's interesting. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is what I thought I was gonna have to do. I'm gonna get my cast iron skillet out and cook that up a little bit more so that it's a little more appealing. I have added some oil to the skillet. I had to, it's been so long since I've used the induction burner that I had to dust it off. So I have the pan on. I'm gonna let that heat up. It's always best for your cast iron pan to actually put your food in when the pan is hot. And you want to use a metal spatula with a cast iron pan. With the induction burner, it does not take long to get it heated up though, at all. I'm gonna put the vegetables in and stir them around. The induction burner always turns on at level 5, and I usually cook on level 3. So that's 60 amps is what it's showing. So my hot pad got a little wet with that, so I'm gonna dry that one. I don't want to put a hot cast iron pan on a wet hot pad, so I'm going to get out a fresh one. Since this is already all cooked, what I'm doing is just really reducing the liquid in it and trying to get it, some of it, just to be a little, I don't know, seared maybe. In fact, I should probably not stir it around quite so much. Alright, so it's been simmering for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes now, and you can see that it's starting to, the juice from the pan is starting to be more of a gel almost. And so I'm going to turn that off, and this will stay cooking for just a few minutes just because it's a cast iron pan. But if you notice, you could hear the sizzle go down immediately when I turned it off, and that's because it's much more like a gas range than it is an electric, even though it is electric. So I'm going to put some quinoa in. I did add some salt to the quinoa while I was reducing the sauce on the vegetables. Probably would make more sense to use the spatula, but okay, so that, and then I'm going to put some vegetables in here. And I think the seasoning's just fine. I don't need to add anything to it. I was thinking a little bit of, I don't know, vinegar or something, or maybe more coconut aminos, but it's really good. And then, I don't know what they are, turmeric, ginger, lime, cashews. Now the cashews, I don't know if that's something that they make there at the Redmond farm store, or if it's something that they buy somewhere and you can get them somewhere else. I have no idea, but they are so good that that's kind of why I wanted to make this whole dish, was because of these cashews and the quinoa bowl that I had at the Redmond farm store in the Sugar House area of Salt Lake City. So I hope that gives you some inspiration. I think it turned out great. The fact that I was able to cook those really dense vegetables with very little energy output. It doesn't faze me that I had to actually get out my cast iron skillet as well, because this was making quinoa and vegetables. And so by using the 2-in-1 pot-in-pot instant pot, I was able to drastically reduce the amount of energy that it took to make this. You know, something like making quinoa and vegetables is usually going to take 2 instruments anyway, so I'm really happy with how it's turned out, and I think I have a new recipe. This is Joni with TheGalavan. Enjoy your journey.